For Druid, as far as gear and runes and talents, I'm just going to lump this all into one video, but I'm going to separate it by PvE and PvP. So let's go over PvE first. For tanking as a Druid, your stat prio is going to be like Strength and Agi are both really, really good. Strength gives you 2 attack power per 1 strength. So it's highly valuable for threat generation. Agility is really good. I think it gives you dodge and armor in bear form. So if I equip my Feral Tank set, Druids benefit a lot from stamina and armor. So this is my Feral Tank set. I have 46.8% physical damage reduction. With this rune here, which I will go over later, I have 66.8% physical damage reduction, as well as being crit immune. So this rune is really, really crazy. So yeah, focus on high armor, strength, stamp stuff. But Agi, if you find a piece with Agi, like Tunic of Westfall that comes from the end of the chain, is not bad at all. So yeah, that's pretty much stat priority. Right now I have some really, really insane items from the raid. It's Feral Tank and Feral DPS are relatively similar. Strength is your best overall DPS stat for PvE as Feral DPS and Feral Tank. But it honestly, it just depends on the items that you get, you know? So let's compare these two pieces here. Let's compare this ring with 4 strength, 4 agility, and 2 stamina to Band of Deep Places on the far left here with 6 strength and 6 stamina. I would take Prospector's Band for sure, obviously because I'm losing 2 strength, so I'm losing 4 attack power. But in cat form, 4 agility is 4 attack power. Plus, in cat, agility gives you crit. So if I go to my Feral set here and equip my Feral DPS set, I have around 14.3% crit, which is pretty high for low levels. And to be fair, I do have quite a bit of strength gear, but Agi is really good. These gloves are required through a quest chain that requires you to complete BFD. You have to go buy an elixir of, I think it's called Coalescing Visions, but you can just go on Wowhead and search Void Touched Gear and find that. So yeah, PvE and for Feral Tank and Feral DPS, it's relatively the same. In terms of stat priority, so a lot of that gear can share between both, which is why I recommend going this build for pretty much all PvE and world content. I would drop these 2 points for 5 points in Feral Instinct, and because I'm just going this right now to test it out in PvP, but I would say just go 5 points in Feral Instinct, 2 points in Feline Swiftness, 1 point in Feral Charge, 2 in Sharpened Claws. You could even drop Feral Charge, but definitely 1 point in Nature's Grasp. If I was going to give you a spec that I think you should go for all content, tanking, DPSing, you know, world content, everything, I would say go 5 in Ferocity, 5 in Feral Instinct, 2 in Feline Swiftness, 3 in Sharpened Claws, and then 1 in Nature's Grasp. Just my spec now, but drop Feral Charge and Brutal Impact. Just 5, 5, 2, 3, 1. That is going to allow you to tank all content. You have the extra threat generation from Feral Instinct. You will do perfectly fine DPS as this spec. And you'll have the Feline Swiftness, which is going to be absolutely necessary in all PvP content and all world content. For the optimal PvE spec for Feral is going to be 1 point in Nature's Grasp, 4 points in Improved Wrath or Improved Nature's Grasp, doesn't really matter, but then 5 points in Natural Weapons, 1 point in Omen of Clarity, and then 5 points in Ferocity. Basically with this spec, you just mangle the boss once, get the Savage Roar up, and then spam mangle the entire fight until you get an Omen of Clarity proc from your auto attacks, which is going to allow you to cast something for free, and you'll want to use that on a Shred. Shred costs 60 energy, so it does a lot of damage because it gets buffed by your mangle, which increases the damage from bleed and shreds by 30%. So yeah, that's the optimal PvE spec for Feral. But to be fair, you do not need to be the optimal PvE spec for Feral to do good DPS and raids. You can run this spec here, or the spec that I mentioned earlier with just dropping Brutal Impact and Feral Charge. You can tank everything in that, DPS everything in that. You can play that in PvP. You could flag carry with that build. That is just like your one-stop shop Feral build. As far as Resto and Boomkin go, I would say as Resto Druid right now, I have not played Restoration or Boomkin, but I have played plenty of those specs in the past to know what they should be, you know, optimizing for. I would say as Boomkin, you want to get as much plus spell power as you can. So if I equip my flag carrying set here, I have these boots and this helm, which I'm using for flag carrying because of the stamina, the intellect, and the plus healing. but to find as much gear as you can with increases damage and healing done by magical effects and by up to a certain amount. That's like going to be your best gear. After that, I would say int is your highest priority, and then spirit is going to be really strong probably for Boomkin because Fury of Stormrage has no mana cost. You can just sit there spamming out wraths, still doing damage, and your MP5 is still going to keep going. This add-on here is called 5-second rule, and it tracks your MP5. So I could be sitting here spamming wraths on this deer with Fury of Stormrage, and this is going to keep going. I'll just demonstrate that really quick. If I put this rune on, and I use a spell that costs mana, you'll see that usually if I cast another spell, it resets, right? This is just going to keep resetting. But if I have Fury of Stormrage in, and I cast an ability, it's not going to reset. This bar is going to keep going. I'm going to keep regenerating mana. Even if I keep, casting wraths, I'm still going to be regenerating mana. So you're just regenerating mana while doing damage. So for that reason, I think Spirit would be nice for Druids. But definitely you want to prioritize plus damage and healing, then Intellect, and then Spirit. That would be my recommendation. And for Boomy in PvP, obviously Stamina and Intellect is just BIS for anybody who has mana. Just have as much mana as possible and have as much health as possible. And I think the same would be true for Resto Druid, except maybe prioritize Intellect like a lot. Things are going to be kind of expensive. Fights are long. You're going to be drinking a ton of mana pots, and just Wild Growth is very expensive as well. For Resto, if you're playing Restoration Druid in PvE content or PvP content, your most efficient healing spell is Life Bloom. This is the most healing for the least amount of mana possible. So this is your primary heal for sure. After that, I believe it's Regrowth and Rejuvenation are around the same effectiveness and mana cost for the healing that you're getting from them. So I'd say prioritize Life Bloom, Rejuvenation, and Regrowth. And I would treat Wild Growth as kind of like a cooldown as a Restoration Druid. Wild Growth, it costs a lot of mana, but it's extremely good. For example, on the turtle fight in the second boss of BFD, there's a point in which the boss does a massive amount of AoE damage. So you want to make sure everybody's topped off. A good time to use Regrowth would be right as the guy starts casting that. You cast Regrowth, top off 5 people from around 60%, which it will. It's an extremely powerful heal. I cast it once and it did 1.6k healing, which is a lot of HP. I'm very well geared, and that's like almost my whole health bar, and that's on multiple people. It's a very strong heal when cast on 5 people for sure. And arguably more mana efficient if you're not overhealing with it, which is sometimes rare. Usually there's not 5 people that are all below 60-50%. Let's go over spec for Boomkin. For talents for Boomkin, you would want to go 5 points in Improved Wrath, 5 points in Improved Moonfire, and then maybe grab Improved Mark of the Wild just to be able to buff yourself a little bit more. But if you're doing PvP, I would not recommend playing Boomkin. Druids are most valuable as either Feral Druids in a team fight, giving melee Wild Strikes, or as Feral Druids being flag carriers. So if I was doing PvP on a Boomkin, I would go Improved Wrath, Improved Moonfire, Nature's Grasp, maybe grab Natural Shapeshifter, because why not? But I would not recommend that, to most people. I would say you'll have more fun playing Feral or flag carrying. As Restoration Druid in PvP, you probably could be decently useful. And for Resto, I would just go maybe 5 points in either Furor or Improved Mark of the Wild. Probably just preference. Improved Mark of the Wild might be worth it for the extra mana and health. And then I would go probably 2 points in Improved Enrage so that you can instantly bash somebody. If you press Bear Form Enrage, bash. Bash costs 10 rage, and without Furor, you don't get that. You could just go Furor, but I don't think you really need all 5 points in Improved Healing Touch. You don't really press it. So I would just go 5 points Improved Mark of the Wild, 2 points here, 3 points here, and then just grab Insect Swarm and put 3 points in Reflection. And then after that, it probably doesn't matter. Maybe grab Nature's Grasp. It's always good to have in PvP. But a Resto Druid in PvP is not nearly as powerful as a Disc Priest. I would never take a Restoration Druid over a Disc Priest if I had a choice in PvP. Okay, so for flag carrying, as a Resto Druid, you want to prioritize Stamina and Intellect over pretty much everything else. You are going to be the focus of a lot of slows. Hunters are going to be concussive shotting you. Mages are going to be Nova-ing you. Shamans are going to be frost shocking you. People are constantly going to be trying to slow you down. So you're going to have to spend mana on shifting. And as you can see, shifting costs a lot of mana. And I have an extremely large mana pool. And I can only shift a few times and then I'm completely out of mana. So you want to have as much intellect as possible. And stamina, obviously, because you're going to be the target of so many attacks. Stamina is going to be extremely valuable. So a piece like this is off of the last boss in the new raid. And this has 168 armor, which is a lot. For example, my Likings of the Fang, which is a previous piece of leather gear, only have 78 armor. This piece has almost 100 more armor than that piece does. It has 6 strength, which is good. That's 12 attack power in cat and bear. 12 stamina, which is 120 health, scaled up by bear form, and 7 intellect. Everything you need. It has strength, stamina, intellect, and armor. This is like absolute best in slot piece of gear for a flag carrying druid. This is the 2 set from the raid as well, stamina, intellect. This is 2 stam, 6 agility, which gives you armor and dodge in bear form, as I mentioned before. 10 intellect on a piece is just too big to, I have these shoulders here that are 5 stamina leather pieces, but they have no intellect on them. These have 10 intellect, which is just too good to give up. That's 100 mana, which is just, that's huge. This piece again here, I just got this the same run I got this. Armor, strength, stam, super strong. This is from Dead Mines. And yeah, just prioritizing that is huge. For the Void Touched gear, just go look up how to get it. Wowhead explains how to get this piece. It cost me around 10 gold, but it is super, super, super strong. Especially if you are forced to 1v1 somebody as a flag carrying druid, it can help out a lot. As far as runes go for flag carrying, this is the setup you want to be, with one potential argument for wild growth. Survival of the Fittest. This is basically just a gold check. If you can go out and quest, like I mentioned in the leveling guide, through Darkshore, through Wetlands, through Ashenvale, and just make enough gold to just buy the Shredder turbochargers that you need to make this. Again, go on Wowhead and find the guide on how to get these runes. But this is absolutely best in slot for flag carrying. It's 10% reduced damage all the time, 6% reduced chance to be crit by melee, and then 20% reduced damage while you're in bear form. Never going to take anything else as an FC. Probably never going to take anything else in PvP. Regardless, I mean, there's an argument for wild strikes if you're in a melee group and you're just trying to swarm people, but this is just an absolutely insane PvP rune. Usually it's always best in PvP to just be able to live longer than the other guy, and then you're probably going to win. On your pants, you're going to run Life Plume every single time. Life Plume is so efficient. You can be full mana, have a rogue waiting for you in the flag room, opens on you, grab the flag, he comes out, put 3 life plumes on yourself, cast a rejuve. This reduces your global cooldown on life plume and rejuvenation, so that's actually going to happen really quick. Life plume, life plume, life plume, rejuve, go bear, and you're going to get a bunch of mana back when those go off, and you're going to be really tanky because of Survival of the Fittest. This is just, hands down the best rune for PvP as a flag carrying druid. Sunfire is going to be, I think that Sunfire is probably overall the best rune for druids in PvP. If you're doing solo content or you're flag carrying, you're going to be out there alone a lot of the time. So this Sunfire and Life Bloom kind of go together for me. And this is like world PvP, flag carrying, times where you're going to be kind of caught alone. It's just so good for you to use your 2 points in feline swiftness and have that extra movement speed on people and be able to do damage from a far distance with Sunfire and be able to heal yourself quickly with an ability like Life Bloom. That being said, as a feral DPS in PvP, if you are in team fight, if you're not going to be the flag carrier, if you're just trying to kill people, if you're doing group content, you have a disc priest healing you in the back, in my opinion, you're like what a warrior is going to be next patch. If you connect on something, you melt it. So you mangle once, get the Savage Roar up, regular PvE rotation, spam mangle, and you are going to shred something with Savage Roar, mangle, and wild strikes. So this is the setup for flag carrying as far as runes, and solo content as far as runes. And then if I'm in a group and I trust, if I have my good friend, my disc priest healing me in a BG or out in the world, I'll go wild strikes, Savage Roar, and mangle. You connect on something with Savage Roar, you get a wild strikes proc, and you hit him with a mangle. I don't care what class they're playing, that dude is dying. Really quickly, for wild growth, I like wild growth for healing a lot. I like wild growth a lot for flag carrying sometimes. It's just so expensive, and oftentimes you're only pressing on yourself. You only really need to heal yourself, that I haven't found much use for it. And with Survival of the Fittest, you're so tanky that I don't think you need more than a Life Plume and a Rejuve to stay alive. So Wild Growth, I tried it out, but I felt that it was too expensive and I didn't get enough value out of it. And I'd rather spend my mana on shifting slows and getting away while I have Life Plumes and Rejuves than spending almost 300 mana on Wild Growth. So that's the PvP aspects, runes for DPS feral and flag carrying feral. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you could please hit that like and subscribe button, it supports the channel a lot. And I stream regularly on twitch.tv/flob. You can find me there. And yeah, have a great rest of your day, night, morning. Peace out.